Yurav Ralph, 21. Halacha Gimel. He said to two people, I stole from one of you $100. Many of that is in Mikem. I don't know from which one of you. One of your fathers left $100, but many of that Ezehu. I don't know which one of you. No, so Zeman or Zeman has to give each one of them $100, which is difficult for the Gemara in Yevamos, which Gemara is going to ask over here. Gemara in Yevamos says Machlokas Rabbi Rabbi Tarfon. If you stole from 5 people or borrowed from 5 people, we don't know from which one. So the question is whether you have to give back to each one of them, or Mediach Ksela Benem Mistal, you leave whatever you stole from in front of all 5 and you run away. So Gemara is going to ask that question over here. Show them Piatzma. Why is this that he gives each one $100? Because he can concede on his own that he is liable, so therefore he has to give to each one individually. Two people gave a picadon to a certain individual. This guy gave $100 because this guy gave $200. Each guy says $200 are mine. No sin Zeman says Zeman, he gives each one of them $100. But Shar and the other, which is under dispute, remains under in abeyance. He doesn't give it over until the Navi comes and tells us to it belongs. So too, there are 2 vessels. One is worth $100, one is worth $1,000. This one says the beautiful one is mine. The more valuable one is mine. This guy says the more valuable one is mine. No says a kotel echad mehem. You give the smaller one to one of them. When we talk about gado, and you sell the larger one or the more prestigious, more valuable one, and you give the you give it the value equivalent to the value of the first vessel to the second guy. Bashar, and the difference in price, it should be remain until the Navi comes. Rabbi Yosef says in Cain, that's the case, what loss is there to the cheater? Everything remains in abeyance until the O comes. In other words, perhaps as a deterrent. This way people won't be so quick to cheat, so therefore we say the whole thing was frozen and nobody gets their money back.
Each one is getting, let's say, $100 for it.
Right.
So
the other $900 is his house frozen.
Yeah. So
that's going down a comma. Rabbi Yossi holds you freeze the whole $1,100. Both the keluch with $1,000 and the keluch with $100, you freeze the whole thing.
Why, even the cheater, the default position is that he had
yeah, but then we're not finding him. We doesn't want the cheater not to. Doesn't want just want cheaters not prosperous. Right. Doesn't want to get exactly.
That goes on the other case.
I assume he would say something about the first case as well. Yeah. It's not clear, but I assume it's the same thing. Alright, Yerushalmi Bava Metzia said, Khan, what's the difference between here and Yevamos? So Khan ba'orim. So the difference is that in Yevamos they're claiming from him. Orim literally means they're complaining. They're claiming from him. So therefore, what he does is he doesn't know which one he owes to. So therefore, he just leaves one among all of them and he runs away. Khan Mishoskim here they're not claiming for him, but rather he's coming in his own initiative and confessing, especially a form of doing tshuva. So therefore, part of his doing tshuva is that he has to give to each one of them. Were you listening to the radio? Is that what it is?
I started out late, but I was listening to the radio.
Did you hear anything more than what Dr. Sedell told me?
It's remanded back to the Florida Supreme Court. That's it. But Justice Stevens had a quote that it's unclear who the winner is in this case, but the real loser is the fact that now people don't look at judges as being impartial deciders of matters. So
he said that.
But he writes that in an official.
It's not true.
The whole judicial system.
Yeah.
You say basically we're all biased. That's a tough thing to write. Posterity.
Mm-hmm. They'll get over it. They got over the Dred Scott decision. It took a few decades, but they got over Dred Scott.
Over Clinton.
Yeah. But no, not over Clinton. It was all because of Clinton. Anyway, this is Nebuch. So we're on Daf Yud Alpha base. Just started the Gemara. I wanted to mention that today in the New York Times they had a little blurb about each of the justices. So they said Justice Thomas didn't ask any questions yesterday. Justice Thomas, it says, never ask any questions or arguments. His supporters and clerks say it's because he believes he does not clarify the issue during oral arguments and looks to other ways to clarify it. The guy must be an absolute moron. All right. All right. Rav Moshe Yochanan Kambor in here again not here, but rather Yavamas. They're claiming the five guys claiming you stole from me, you stole from me, you stole from me. So therefore, he just puts the Gzeila among the two of them and runs away. Khan here in Bava Metzia B'Shoskim, they don't claim anything. He comes and concedes on his own that he sinned. He wants to atone basically for his sin, and therefore the only way he can do that is by reimbursing each of the potential people who he stole from or who gave him a pikadon, and he doesn't remember who it was.
Isn't that going to stop people from wanting to atone because he's going to be on $500 instead of just $100?
Yeah, but there's no takanas shavim on this because there's no way of doing. The takanas shavim is where there's some way of doing justice by paying instead of destroying something, or but there's no way of doing it here. There's no equitable way of doing it other than making him pay.
So he pays fair not to. Not to
right.
do it at all.
Pays fair not to wait till they schlep him to court. That's right. According to this answer, right. That according to the Pnei Moshe means that where our mission is about there, Eidim know of the Gzeila. So then if the Eidim know the Gzeila, so then since they know he was a thief, so they have to give to each one of the people who then stole from. And so they don't know he's a Goslin. So therefore you just put one among all of them and run away. I would say opposite. I would say the Eidim Yoidim means the Eidim know who the Pikadon belongs to. It's just that the Eidim aren't here right now. But there are Eidim somewhere who know who the Nigzal is and who the Pikadon belongs to. And then he can put the Gzeil among all five of them and run away, because eventually Eidim will come and clarify who it belongs to. But over where there are no Eidim anywhere which know about it, so in that case he has to reimburse each one of the people individually. Rabbi Yerushalmi Rav said, "Kam b'nishba, kam b'shelo nishba." Now it's not clear who's saying shvua here. The two one could learn that the two nigzalim or two bali pikadon are taking the shvua. They're saying we take a shvua that you stole from us. We take a shvua that we gave you something for safekeeping. But the way the pashtus is that it's actually not that way, but rather that the borrower, the person who stole or the person who had pikadon takes the shvua, right? So it depends whether he took the shvua or didn't take the shvua. And Tamanom in there, the Shem Rav, Sham Nishba, Kamba Shalo Nishba. That it depends whether he took, also the same type of idea, that it depends whether he took the shvua or not. So in this case, if he took the shvua, one second. There's the Tosefta. Tosefta says, "Nosin l'zem mosayim, v'nosin l'zem mosayim." He gives to each one of them $200. V'im lo yolo lishtok, because if not, he should have been silent. Now, what does that mean? It means that if he took a shvua that he didn't have to be pardoned or that he didn't steal, that shvua requires him to pay to the full amount because he was a liar. If he didn't take a shvua, it was just silent, then he could put the gzeila among all five of them or two of them and run away. But the moment you take a shvuah, your shvuah requires you to make good on that shvuah. What does it mean, make good on that shvuah? It requires you to make sure to reimburse anybody who your shvuah potentially shortchange, which could be one person, 2 people, 5 people. It makes no difference. You have to take care of that situation. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, by the fourth figure, Im b'shenishba. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, Im b'shenishba, if it's talking about a case where he took a shvuah. So, there's Shraiter puts in the words, B'da tani im lo haylo lishtok. Concerning this, it says that he could have been silent. Now, the way Rabbi Yirmiyah understands the brisa is not that he could have been silent and not taken the shvuah, but it means that he could have been silent and not pay back each person, which is very strange. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, and I don't know where Rabbi Yirmiyah understands the brisa that way. I wouldn't have understood the way. Rabbi Yirmiyah understands the brisa that he can be silent after having taken the false shvuah, but that's not true, obviously, because at that point the halach is if you're nishbal sheker to your friend, you have to be moilech pruta afilu pruta achrav lemada. You have to go as far as possible in order to reimburse him. So that's Rabbi Yirmiyah is asked the question. So Rabbi Yirmiyah savar mei marhelo lishtok v'lo lahodos. So the Gemara answers, and I don't know why it says Rabbi Yirmiyah savar. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks the question. But, I'm sorry. No, the Gemara doesn't explain what I just said. Rabbi Yirmiyah Savar Meir, Rabbi Yirmiyah holds, you should have been silent after the shvuah, and not have been moida, not have conceded that he took a false shvuah. And again, I understand what Rabbi Yirmiyah understood the price that way. It's very strange. Rabbi Yasa understands the way I understood it. Rabbi Yasa Savar Meimar, of course, once you take the shvuah, you have to reimburse to everybody. But the price of means you shouldn't means you shouldn't take the shvuah. But now that you took the shvuah, you have to reimburse every potential person shortchanged. Again, unlike the case where we didn't take shvuah, where miniach gzela, you can pull whatever you stole among all 5 of them and run away. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Im b'shenishba, if you took a false oath, hayelo la'aso shliach beistin, then you should become like a shliach beistin." So it's a little bit of a strange thing. Well, not a little bit, a lot of a strange thing. That the shliach, that if you took a false oath, so they should be still like shliach basin to make good on the shvuah which you swore improperly. And Rabbi Yochanan said, "Remember, shliach basin should also goizel." This is the shliach basin is the thief, right? In other words, that you should. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. If he took an oath, then he should not have to pay each of the people independently. Rather, he should point to shliach beistin, and the shliach beistin should then clarify to whom to pay back. And if he can't, he too should just give it among all of them, and they should decide. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Rabbi Yochanan holds the Gazan himself can make a shliach beistin." We learned another brisa, however, which argues Rabbi Yochanan, which holds shliach beistin shaso nigzal, that the shliach beistin can only be made by the nigzal, by the person who had been stolen from, and not by the person who stole. So therefore, the truth is that one can actually learn that this is, although it's not clear exactly to me, one can actually learn this as a different different answer. In other words, whoever may, if you understand the reconciliation between Yavamas and here, if you understand that the shliach basically made by the Gazan, so then the shliach basically put the gzela among all 5 of them and run away. But if the shliach basically be made by the nigzal, so then the nigzal has no option, the Gazan has no option of putting the gzela among all 5 of them, or giving to the shliach basically put them among all 5 of them and run away, because he doesn't have that kind of remedy. The remedy only, using the Supreme Court's terms, the only remedy you have is if you can use Beis Din as your tool, as a buffer between you and the potential creditors. So if you have the permission to do so, then you can in fact utilize Beis Din and say, look, I don't know from whom I stole, I don't know to whom I took the false oath, I don't know what the story is here, here's the money, you Beis Din take care of it. And I can make Beis Din to my shliach, or make, so to speak, a shliach Beis Din. But if I don't have the capacity, because the only people who can make shliach or Beis Din are the victims, not the perpetrators, then I don't have that option, and I therefore have to reimburse each and every one of them independently. Right? So it's a machlokas essentially whether I can use a buffer, meaning Beis Din, and therefore prevent myself from paying every one of them, or I can't use such a buffer, because the Beis Din only acts on the victim's behalf, not on the perpetrator's behalf.
Well, the victims are not going to be able to get together and decide on who the shliach Beis Din is going to be. It may be a logistical problem.
Right, no, that's true.
Maybe they can.
That's true theoretically, but it's not in their best interest to do it in this case, right? Because they each want to go after him independently. It's a good point. Okay. Says the Gemara, Tani, we learned the shliach again, Tani Choran, Tani shliach Beis Din, Tani Choran, Tani, we learned another statement. It says shliach Beis Din shoso, nigzav lo shliach Beis Din shoso gozo. Amrei Lavila said, Afanan nanitina v'omar. We also learned a brisa which says, of he gzela, he be'ila, he milveh. That all these things all these things are the same. If you stole from 5 people, you don't know from which one. If you married 5 women, you don't know which one, or you divorced 5, you married 5 women, you don't know which one. And you have to give a ksuva, you want to divorce them all and give a ksuva to only one of them, right? He milveh. And milveh is if you borrow from 5 people, you don't know which one. However, those are all the same. And in those, all of them, you can put the gazelle in the middle, run away, the ksuv in the middle, run away, the repayment in one middle, one run away. However, everybody agrees that by pikadon it's different. By pikadon, in fact, there's yet another answer between difference between shiur and vamas. By pikadon, you must reimburse each one of the potential people. Why is that? From that which in the Bible said, if you said to 2 people, and if you said to 2 people, I stole from you, I don't know from which one, I stole from one of you, and I don't know which one, then, and the primary proof is from the Sefer of the Bible, is not brought down, and Moshe brings it down, then you can put the gazelle among the 2 of them. But if you said, I got to be cut from the one or 2 of you, and I don't remember which one, then you can't do that. Why? Because, as Pnei Moshe says right before the Mishnah, he was Boshea B'nafsha, we should have known from whom we took it. So there's yet another answer that the difference is between what type of issue was at hand. And most issues you can in fact put one between all of them and run away, but if it's because, since the burden was upon you to keep proper records of whom you got to be coming from, in that case we find and we say you have to give all both potential people potential repayment. Okay? Halacha down. If somebody leaves fruit by his friend, even if they're on the verge of loss, becoming rotten or ruined, you should never touch them. Of course, Morris can ask why. You should sell them from the basin, or because you have to to sell them and diminish whatever loss is going to be undergone by the original owners. Now, Armev said, why do we say this? Because if you say Tanakama, if you say that even if it's lost, you shouldn't touch them, it should say Takana. You'll find an eitzah for them. In other words, this is an incentive for the Baal Bayis who's safeguarding, but he doesn't want rotten fruit in his barn, right? So therefore, and he can't sell it, right? So therefore, if that's the case, what we have to say is that we have to make sure he's going to take the utmost caution. God's going to make sure that it takes the utmost caution. The fact that we say that you can't do anything with them.
It may be physically impossible to safeguard. I mean, it's going to go wrong.
Then of course, then it should call the owner. Yeah, so that's the now. I should tell you the truth, not in the interest of truth and honesty, that that's Lieberman's Girsa, and it's based on an emendation of the Escorial Girsa. The way the Escorial actually reads, which is similar to actually Pnei Moshe says here, It's not a reason for Tanakama, but it's a reason for Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. And same Rabbi Shimon Gamliel were saying that if you said that if he loses them, then he doesn't have to touch them, like Tanakama, even if they're lost, he doesn't have to touch them. So Afu Mamtiluhem, the Escorial says, actually Takalo. In order to get rid of this Bikoron, he's going to hasten and provide a catalyst for the rotting process in order to get out of his responsibility. Right? So this actually would be, depending whether you read it Takalo or Takano, it's either going to be the logic for Tanakama, why they didn't allow you no matter what to get rid of them and to sell them, or the logic for Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, why, since they were afraid of two-timers, they compelled them to sell in a case where it's sustaining a loss. Now, actually, in the Yerushalmi, it's a straight machlokes. It's kind of Tanakama, you can never sell. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, you sell whenever there's a potential loss. In the Bible, it's not like the Bible. The Gemara talks about that the Tanakama is talking about where the loss is at the normal rate, or where the loss is over the normal rate, and even according to Tanakama, you can sell, right, if it's getting lost more than one normally expect, but there are no such chilukim in the Yerushalmi over here. Says Gemara, Rabbi Abba Yochanan said, Halakha Rabbi Shimon Gamliel that you can sell. Like this case, Rabbi Yochanan Kukah, Rabbi Yochanan the Sofer, Ifkin Gabi Rabbi Chila, Rabbi Chila Ruba, Rabbi Chila the great Chadiskiyam Boleh Maleh Chametz, a certain container of a sack full of chametz. Asashol, and it was getting to be Erev Pesach. Asashol Rabbi so came to ask Rabbi what to do. Rabbi Chia came to ask Rabbi. So he said, you are doing the time for beer chametz comes, you can sell based on Beis Din's say so. So here we see that in fact, where loss will be sustained, then you do sell the bikodim, right? Because your chametz are based, so it's going to be obvious loss. Similarly, a certain individual, Afki Gabri Chia Barashi, Leper Chia Barashi, Chad Garab, the Kutach is this measure, a container of the yolks, your sour milk and bread. Asashol Rab, he came and asked Rabbi to do. Armor, he said, Markle be based in Shasabir, which is sold by based in under based in supervision at the time of beer chametz.
It's a bottom line.
Right. And now we see what the regular rate is. So you lose food is be caught by its friend. Now this is about a case that Moshe says based on the Bavli, that there's a claim about a case where you didn't leave his grain independent of yours. So if we have no precisely how much grain would be his at the end of the period allotted, right? Because you mix it in with his. And some of the grain goes rotten and it gets taken away by mice over time. So it says, and you mix them with among your own, you remove the erosion per factor. For wheat and for rice, that's Tishas Chatzi Kabin Likur. That's 9.5 kabin per quart. For barley and millet, Tishas Kabin Likur, it's 9 kabin Likur. The Guzmin is there a Pishtan, for Guzmin, which is rye and flaxseed, then much more. Shloshasim Likur, which is, there's 6 kabin in the saw. So that's 3 saying is 18, twice as much, 18 kabin. But everything is relative to the amount which is given to the Bikoron and based on the time of year, because sometimes of year there's more erosion, sometimes there's less erosion. Rabbi Yochanan said, so what difference does it make? What is the mouse care? Right? No matter how much there is there, how much grain there is, the number of mice don't multiply. So therefore the mice are going to eat according to the same rate if there's 50 bushels of grain or 1,000 bushels of grain. So rather, according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, the chesronos are only based on 1 core. Anything more than a core would just assume the amount of mice that we ate their fill already. So he's looking clearly just at the mice issue, not at any other factor, right?
What about more mice?
He knows no more mice are going to come. The Gemara is going to discuss it. Tanakama holds more mice will come. It's a machlokes and metzias, whether they're going to call their buddies. That's really what it is. So it says the Gemara, Yotzi lo shtus liyain. Sorry, Rabbi Omer, Imay Samida Meruba, if it was a substantial measure, you don't take off any losses, because it becomes more. And explains in the Bible that it expands over time. If you leave it in the summer and if you give it because in the summer, you leave it over the winter, it expands when it becomes full of moisture. So the moisture expands the grain. So even then, so you don't look at a potential loss because the loss would be more than offset by the bloating of the grains of wheat, which are safekeeping with the individual. Okay? Now it's interesting, the Bavli on this, Bavli says, very famous Bavli, it says that, on this Gemara it says, then when you have something which is not counted, so it grows, that there's a siyata d'shmaya, that the amount of stuff which is not counted grows. But Bavli doesn't bring that down over here. Yerushalmi. Says the Gemara, a sixth of the wine you take off. Rabbi Yehuda Chomish a fifth. And they say in Rabbi Yehuda's area, the wine barrels used to absorb more wine, so therefore you deduct whatever absorption would have occurred on it. For him, you deduct also when you reimburse him from your own wine stores. Yotza shloshes lugim shemen l'mei lug, 3 lug of oil get knocked off 100 lug. And you also deduct for a half measure of sediment, which you're not going to give him. The logo mertzabel and a log and a half of absorption. If he had in mind to sell him pure oil, refined oil, you can't take out for him to deduct vis-a-vis the principle of the removal of the dregs, because anyway he promised to be dregless oil. If he's using old jugs to store the wine or the oil, then there's no absorption factor because they're already fully absorbed by having been used in the past. Even if you sell pure refined oil the entire year, part of the profit margin is the dregs. Even though they're not there, they were stipulated not to be in the sale. But nevertheless, since they are, we do take it into account, and you built in a potential dreg factor of a log and a half per 100 log. I'm going to say, now, everybody has a strange pshat on this, but I think the pshat is very simple. That our Mishnah is talking about how much the mice eat at the time they're going, but things could change over time. There are times here, sometimes I don't know if mice hibernate, don't think they hibernate, but it could be sometimes they eat less, sometimes they eat more, right? Winter they might eat more and need more body fat, and summer eat less. So what we said here was an average time, a time when they collect the grain in the silo. Time they then said over there in Bavel, in explaining Rabbanan Shita, they say, these mice Rishoyim, they're Rishaya, they're Rishoyim. When they see a lot of fruit, they will call their buddies which is what you said before. So that's Rabbanan say it's all proportional, not just a uniform measure, no matter how many measures of grain you have there. Rabbi Yochanan said, Ovdo saying, Mispazo saying. Rabbi Yochanan says they get lost and they scatter. In other words, it's not necessarily that the mice call their buddies, but even if you have a large quantity of grain, so more gets lost because it scatters all over the place. So it's not necessarily a mice factor; it could just simply be a natural factor having to do with the spreading of the loss all around. Right? It trickles out of here, trickles out of there. The loss is greater the more bushels of grain you have. Yotza shus yain. You take a sixth for wine, right? You don't have only fifth. On Rabbi Yosef it said, when he didn't say that I'm going to give you precisely, I'm going to give you, Rabbi is only true. That which Rabbi said, when you sell refined oil, we also deduct for the dregs, even though they're not there. That's only if we didn't say that I'm selling you refined oil the entire year. But if you said I'm selling refined oil the entire year, it's your responsibility to make sure there are no dregs in the oil, no matter what time of year, no matter what the circumstances are. Okay? Even Rabbi Yehuda would agree with that. Rabbi Yehuda just said, you take off generally the shmarim when no specific stipulations made. When specific stipulations made, then you can't take off the shmarim. Which seems to be pashut. I don't know exactly what he's saying. We don't know. Okay, Allah above. If somebody leaves a jug by his friend, and the owner did not designate a specific place in the nifkat's house where it should be safe kept, the tiltla, and the owner carried it, the nishbra broke. If it broke while it's still in his hand, the tzarkar is moving it for his own purposes. Chayiv is liable. The tzarkar is moving it for the mafkit's purposes. Potter, he's exempt because he moved it with permission. Once you put it down, wherever you put it down, ben tzarkar, regardless of whether you put it down for his own purposes or for the purposes of the jug, potter. Makes no difference. Once you put it down, you put it back in its shmir position, and you are potter. Yusla by a makom, if the owner could designate a specific place, the tilter of a nishbra, it broke, whether it slipped out of your hand or once you put it down, chayav, you are liable. How many times I skipped the word? L'tzorach, if you moved it for your your own purposes out of that place where the owner wanted to be, then you're liable. L'tzorach, if you moved it because the vessel needed something, because there was danger of being swept away by some earthquake or by a tidal wave or by Ganavim, then you're exempt from whatever breakage occurred, because that's considered to be part and parcel of your shmirah. Okay?
In this last case, are you putting it down because the bow or whatever told you to do it, and then
you took the initiative, but you took the initiative with a good reason.
So it falls and breaks as you're putting it down.
That's right.
Not when you're putting it down and picking it up again.
No, what difference does it make?
In the act of putting it down, you may be just shooting out for the...
Putting it down is better for it, right?
Yeah.
So you're asking me to pick it up again. Before you go back to stage one, then you'd be liable. Yeah. Okay? Says Gemara, I love located Rabbi Eliezer, Lamadar v'Dharma, I don't stand. Isn't this like what Rabbi Eliezer said? That's similar to Goynev Chavis and Martev Chaver. If I sell wine, if I steal wine from your wine cellar, even though the owners didn't know it was taken, they have to know when it's given back. So even if I put it down, once I picked it up, for whatever purpose, putting it down, it shouldn't be good, right? Once a shomer picks it up for his own purposes. So what if he puts it down again? You have to tell the guy, I was moel, so to speak, I abused my shmir, and now put it back, and I put it back. Don't you have to tell him? Otherwise, how does it work if you don't tell him? And it's not like sheep. We had a case earlier himself that if you steal a sheep, or maybe you steal a sheep, you can put it back in the herd and not tell him. Because there, the herd is not necessarily perfectly counted in any way. He might not have missed it, and besides that, he'll notice the animals that goes along, right? But here, the Gemara is asking, if you steal an object, you have to give it back. You have to notify the original owner that you're giving it back. He said, Shani, very cool lam d'shusvara. Shani sheyesh lo reshus oleh, sheyesh reshus oleh. Here, he's the own bailim vis-a-vis that. He's schizophrenic. On the one hand, he's a thief. On the other hand, he's the owner. How is he the owner? Because he is the safekeeper. So therefore, he notified himself by putting it down. He put it back in the Bailim's Rishus, because right now, he represents the Bailim's Rishus. That's how it works.
Did the problem
That's part of being a Mamma Nifkat. That's part of making him a Shomer. I don't know if the Bailim they don't express that. That's implicit. That's what he's contending. Okay, now the next Gemara, till the next mission is messed up. But nothing out of line for the Yerushalmi, but I'm going to read you like this Scoriel has, because with one change which Lieberman makes. But the Scoriel is very nice on this. And it's more or less like the Gemara says here, but with some significant changes, so you can tag along. I'm Rabbi Yitzchak, instead of Rabbi Eliezer, in the fourth line. It said, Is Aran Armin, B'sheyesh Rishus L'Shomer Aleh. That we say when the shomer is in fact designated as the representative of the owner, right? What is our question? If the owner designated a specific location of the house, in other words, he said, Yaakov, I'm going to give you my tape recorder. Keep my tape recorder in that corner over there in your house. You designate a place in the safekeeper's house, or Shomer's house. But if you put it in another place, if you put it somewhere else, in that case, it depends. If you put it back in the same place, you are exempt. If you put it back in a different place, you are liable. And that's what goes on. It says here, if you put it out in another place, Bain Sarko, regardless of what I put somewhere else, you are chayav for sure. Okay, again, if the Bayam Yachim Mokom, and you put it back in the same place, are you liable or not? Because you were Sholech, yeah, but you put it back in the same place. But if you put it back in a different place, everybody holds your chayav. What about if we say, that the shomer has no jurisdiction over it, meaning that once he picks it up, that's it. He loses his status as a nifgad. It's a new point which Gemara hasn't made till now. Gemara is assuming till now he always is the shomer. It's just that where there was a designated point to put it back, so you didn't put it back at that designated point, so then you didn't return it to the proper place of shmirah. But now the Yerushalmi throws in again, it's in the Yerushalmi here, but now kind of out of order. It's in the third to last line for Mishnah. What do we say? She'en rishus l'shomer leah, meaning that the owner only intends that it should be the shomer representing him until the shomer does something untoward. But once he does something untoward, then it's over. So in that case, makes no difference where he puts it, the same place or a different place. The circle chayev, if he takes it for his own purposes, he is liable. But if he takes it for the purpose of the keli, then potter. Why is he potter? Because even though the owner did not give him permission to do anything to abuse it, but nevertheless, if he's moving from place to place in order to save it itself, then it's possible to say in that case that he's potter regardless. Now, and we're talking about obviously a case where we hold according to a logic that we hold that a shmir finished, but not that he has to put it back in the same place, that he has to necessarily, and not with yichud l'makom, not that the place is designated. So in the case where a place is designated, then for sure he has to put it back in the designated spot. If he doesn't put it back in the designated spot, for sure he's chayav. You put it back in the designated spot, then it depends if we say that his shmira continues past his picking it up or not. If the shmira continues past picking up, then if he puts it down in the same place, it's okay. If the shmira doesn't continue, then even if he puts it down in the same place, it should be okay. But even there, the Yerushalmi, according to the version in the Escorial, has a question. Perhaps if you moved it for its purpose, then it might be okay. To save it for something, then it might still be okay, even if Yichdullah Bailim Mokim, and even if you have closer Shmir, so we say Shmir ends, even if you have a double whammy against you, it's still possible to say that in the case where you moved it for its own purpose, for the purpose of saving it, then maybe it will be potter. Okay? So it's not clear in the end. Yeah.
Be high for ones in this case.
Yeah, right. Even if that's what I was going to say later on.
So then, for sure, he should be potter. If he's saving it from an onus,
yeah.
He should be.
Oh no, he's only chayv also if he picked it up to move it originally with malicious intent. If he picked it up with innocent intent, they wouldn't be liable. Or if you left it there, wouldn't be liable either. So that's the malicious intent which makes him liable for the owners. So it's a couch 22. Okay, Allah Chazai. Hamafki Mo say to Chaver, if someone leaves money by his friend. So Tzara, if you wrap some Shilach, puts him behind him in a knapsack, or Muslim no bitok time, he gives it to his sons, daughters, or minors, or Nafa, or Nal, if name Shalokaro, you lock in front of it improperly. He's chayav in this case. Shlo Shamar Derech Shalom. It's not the way Shalom watch. Shamar Derech Shalom. Only if you watch like Shalom watch, both of them you accept. Rabbi Yisrael says the Tisha B'Av. This is the right Bayanash the Yoav L'Chavrei Palterin. Now nobody knows exactly what a palterin is. Some say Rabbi Yisrael says it's some large clumps of herbs, which are not normally carried by adults because they're too large and too cumbersome. So therefore they give them to kids to carry. So Lieberman learns, and I don't know how he gets it, because of some Greek word, it means an enema. So he says, he gives his friends marketplace, if the guy, the Nifka, gives it to his sons, or even the Ktanim, and Nignavu, and gets stolen or off or lost, Potter, I mean the Shani, Potter, for example, Shani, may I say, here that everybody changes it. It should be Shaloso Daito Liton Paltrim Bashuk. That's the concept. I didn't have in mind, especially when you say it's an enema. I didn't come on my mind to go take Shlep Yankel to go and say, Yankel, you owe me my enema, right? So therefore, since you didn't have that in mind, so it means that you we're not makbid inherently how we shomer it. Anything, it's like kind of like the. It's kind of like the Rabbi Heinemann leniency to go 10 miles over the speed limit, or whatever, 10% over the speed limit, because he said he asked the police, and they said they're not makbid over it, so you get 10% over the speed limit. So we held those mutter to go 10% over the speed limit. Why? Because whatever they're going to time them, saying by copyrights, right? People copy certain songs on tapes because they know the people are not going to come to prosecute for that thing. So actually the law becomes what people will prosecute you for, not, the din of malchusa and halach becomes what people will prosecute you for, not what the strict letter of the law is. So if it's known that somebody who gives something like this over shmiras, it's cheap and perhaps embarrassing, he's never going to time it in court, so the shomer in turn doesn't have to provide it with the utmost proper shmira. Isn't it fascinating, halacha? It really makes a lot of sense. That's what we're saying over here. Okay? You never heard of the Heinemann Heter? Have you been speeding all these years? Yes. You know what? Safety Dinah Malchus doesn't apply. But he holds that Dinah Malchus applies to Takonas and Medina, right? And this is Takonas and Medina. To make sure people do drive safely. So therefore then the child is, what point do you do now? It's interesting concept because people, it's not ever clarified. If you transgress Dinah Malchus Dina, you have to say in Yom Kippur, right? So that's really the issue which we're talking about, right? So in theory, according to Rabbi Heinemann's perspective, there's no difference between this and cheating on your taxes. So it would be the same problem. 10%. 10%. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that way. Sure you want that on tape? Okay, so David, so you have to say to you over here, if a guy's not going to taina it, obviously he didn't mean to get full shmir on it, and therefore it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay? When they say Shemachinam can get off the hook, Bisman Shishimar Kederach Hashem, when he was shomer properly, no Koroi is locked properly, Kosh Koroi he tied up properly, Nosa Mafundoso, he put it in his wallet properly, Tzorim Bistino, he put it in, he wrapped it in his mattress, basically. No, not mattress, sorry. In a sheet. And he put the money in front of him. When he was walking, he carried it like this. If you put it in a proper strong box, need to move off, it was then lost his soul. Chai b'shvua, he's chai b'shvua that he wasn't negligent, but Padma Mishalim is exempt from pain. But even Yeshadim Shos, and even Yeshadim Shos came, he's got witnesses. Abishul Party is party even from witness from Shvur, right? No, however, no Shlocher if he didn't lock properly. Kosh Shlocher he tied improperly. If Shin Lachora, if he put it, he carried behind himself, as far as in front of himself. Those Rosh Hashanah, he put it on top of his roof, not in the box. When he was stolen, Chayav L'Shayim is liable to pay. Nothing welcome Shinoi Litain Shalo. If you put it in the place and another puts his own, you may royal shmir. Potter, it's also if it's not a regular shmir place is exempt, the law, and if not, chayav is liable. Okay? Hamavki mostly to shulchan. Somebody leaves the money by a money changer. Even if they're bundled, then the money changer cannot use them. With vehicle, therefore, of the chayav b'chrusa. Remember that loss, he's not liable to pay for them because this is a shormer chinam. Shormer chinam is potter and aveda. Imutarim, if however they're open. Then the money changer can use them. Therefore, if they're lost, you're liable for responsibility for them. If he was left to buy a Baal Bus, regardless, you shouldn't use them, whether they're sealed or not sealed. The storekeepers like to buy a bus, if you're a mayor, and you can't use them whether they're sealed or not. Rabbi Yehuda, depends if they're sealed or not. Ravuna Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah boy. Ravuna asked Rabbi Yirmiyah, it's actually used sealed, but it actually means loose or bundle in our Mishnah. Now Ravuna said, Rabbi Yirmiyah asked, when it says sealed, you can't use them, it means sealed with a seal, bundled with a seal, or bundled without a seal. If you're going to say, you're going to say you're only not allowed to use them when the bundle was sealed. If there's no seal, you're allowed to use them. They said that even when there is no seal, you're not allowed to use them. Certainly if it's sealed, you're not allowed to use them either. And the Bavli has a portion that it's only if it's bundled and sealed, it's also, but not if it's bundled and left open. Somebody who casts his hands against an object given to him safekeeping. Whatever happens, it goes down in price, goes up in price. Before the time he gives it back, he has to pay the difference. Basil says it goes by the time which he took it out of the shus of the original owner. Goes after the time he sued him in court. Because somebody just thinks, don't even think of it. You think to cast your hand against an object given to you for safekeeping. Says you're liable. Says you're not liable. Until actually to the Maisa. Catered also. No, this is a general explanation of Mishnah. He tells us if you incline a jug. But nothing matter if you take for a revius, and you are the shomer. And each when it breaks, you have to pay a revius because the revius you should not have taken. But if you picked it up, nothing matter if he took for a revius, and then the jug broke, you pay everything. So it depends. You literally have to take possession of it in order to be shleach out bikara. And it depends how much of it you took possession according to this Tana Mishnah. So the Mishnah says, according to Rabbi Akiva, goes after the time of the man. Kishas Fiasa goes after the time of the man in court. Yerushalmi Rav said, look, Rabbi Akiva, I feel Beisil Chalukil, even though Beisil Arizim belongs like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Merchisa Maisa was a certain episode for Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Pasal Akiva, that it goes after the Shah, Shah's Tfiya, the time when he subpoenas him to court. Amar Rabbi said, ain't Sham Eidim. The whole machlokes are mentioned when there are no witnesses. But if there are witnesses, will hold to close to Rabbi Akiva. And it's very strange why it should be that way, because it's counterintuitive. It means that if there are witnesses, which should make it a more stringent case, it actually doesn't go after the time when the witnesses saw it occur, but after the time they go to court, because it gives it a time of Tviyah. So everybody has difficulty with this. It's not in the Bavli. The Bavli doesn't say it in this word. And some people try and distort the Yerushalmi. But the way the Baz and Lieberman says, so it's still not quite the same. He says, there's the cost of B'yom Hashmoso, B'yom Hashamo, I forget, it brings down the language, B'yom Hashmoso. So after witnesses, it goes after the day of court. That's what fixes the price which the Shomer has to pay for having B'sholech Yad. And the reason for that is, obviously because Xeris Kosev. But more than Xeris Kosev, It has to do with the fact that if there are Eidim, the Eidim are the ones which allow you to ascertain something is true. Not just an allegation, it's something that's actually true. So therefore, the allegations also are significant, right? If somebody sholech yad, you allege he was sholech yad, and you can verify that the thing is broken, or whatever the case may be, and it's obviously circumstantially proves that it's true. So then there might be all sorts of other standards used, but the Iker standard is Eidus, and the Iker standard when Eidus is manifest is when you go to court. Okay, it's schwer. It's not glatt, but that must be the pshat. Asu the kumer Rabbi Nasa certain case give Rabbi Nasa v'ayek Rabbi Kiva Pascha Rabbi Kiva. My Rabbi Shammai who says you go even after a thought b'sholech yad, because it says I'll call tval pesha, an all matter of pesha. What's tvar, even a dover, even an expression. No, expression is expression of thought, right? It's not a deed. So once he says hineni muchanim zuman lishloach yad, from that time it's liable. Basically, what Mamakaim Beisel called our pesha was Beisel do was I'll call Tval pesha. He wants enunciated. Yochel Ein Yelav Chulei. Now, do not be confused. The small print here is also Yerushalmi. She said it wasn't in the Leiden manuscript. It was in some other manuscript, and it is in the Escorial. So unfortunately, we have to learn it. So I'm sorry, but we won't finish it tonight. My time Beishamai was Beishamai. It goes back. Pesha, I'll call var pesha. Mamakayim b'veisel pesha, I'll call var pesha. Tipote sheshach bol yarai deshliach. I'll call var pesha means even if you weren't shliach yad yourself, it's like normally ain't shliach varavera. But if you say to your household servant, go bring me that jug, and that jug was a bikotam, and we're supposed to move it, then that also going to be sham b'shliach yad. Rayes boy atamartin litol or natal. Doesn't say or here, but it should. So, does it mean he takes it in order does he have to actually take it away from the place where it is, not to be shalech, or even if he just picks it up? There's more of a wait a minute. But if it broke or went sour after the was shalech yad nosel to make cool, you pay the entire thing. So why does it become vinegar? Not just become picking it up. When it becomes vinegar, if you actually moved it. So you see that moving is the criteria, not just picking up. Shmuel said, it's going to actually have to start causing a loss. It's not enough to use shalech that he moved it or picked it up. You have to actually start causing a loss. Says Rabbi Shmuel, boy, does tak have the loss or not a loss? Unless they say, I understand your question. That's Rabbi Yochanin's question. Lito nata, right? Does it mean you have to actually take it away, or is it enough that you just picked it up? Item or lito, if you're going to say that you just pick it up, which is lito, even if it's not missing anything. Item or not, if it says you have to actually take it away, and it could then it has to be a coin to in which the barometer is not moving, but rather chisaron. So if you're going to say the coin demandamar, the barometer is moving once you actually moved it, not just picked it up. So coin demandamar requires chisaron. It actually is now when you picked it up, and that was catalyst of chisaron, when the chisaron actually started occurring. Okay, two parallel opinions here. So it says in Tamar litol. You're going to say that it's even if you picked it up, but didn't yet take it away. If you put it back either immediately or on the spot in its place, to its own place,
Something wrong here.
What? Yeah, but I think it got to be told no tower work to be messed up. Litol is, you're right, but used leave when I was praying, but now I think the Ephraim is correct. He says on the bottom, in Tamali told, if you say litol, in other words, now I'm confused because I don't remember which is litol and which is not tal. In Tamali told. Which means you just pick it up, you're liable. So it's here, no, okay, so it's got to be. Okay, Lieberman changes the first word in the line here from potter to chayev. So now that makes sense. I'm just thinking out loud because obviously I messed it up when I was preparing. If you're going to say already liable the moment you pick it up out of place, even if you don't move it anywhere. No matter what, you're liable. That's more stringent because you even picking it up and maybe putting it down, you're liable. You're going to say only if you moved it elsewhere. Then if you picked it up and put it right back down in the same place, you're potter. If, however, of course, the Mokomacher, if you move it somewhere else, so that fulfills the criteria of Notal, and then you're liable, then you're chayiv. Okay? So we're linking these two things together, whether it's not, say if it's lethal, the moment you picked it up, you already become liable, regardless of where you put it down. If it's not out, it's only if you actually moved it, not if you put it back in the same spot. Okay, the next thing, this starts in the Sugya, not quite in the Sugya, but we'll call it a day and continue with Rabbi Avodah tomorrow.